Question one. So question one is Mount Everest, which is 29,028 above sea level. And the Dead Sea, the lowest elevation is 1,312 below sea level. What's the difference between these two elevations? So I briefly talked, I caught you at the end of class. So let me see if I can do a drawing here. Here's the top of the mountain, right? And then Death Valley, the Dead Sea, right? So uh, let's write the sea here, and then okay, I guess we can make this the bottom. So the bottom part, that is 1,312 below sea level, and we're going to write it as negative 1,312. So from the bottom of this Dead Sea here to the surface of the water is 1312, distance-wise. Is it feet? Yeah, is it feet. And to the top of the mountain, right, from the ground level all the way to the top of the mountain is 29,028 feet. So they're asking us what happens if, what is that distance from the top of the mountain all the way to the bottom, right? So they're asking us for this distance right here, right? The top of the mountain and the bottom of the sea. What is that distance? So when we calculate distance, right, I mentioned that we should use the absolute value symbol because we're measuring distance. And here is why. So difference implies subtraction, right? So if we actually did this like this without the absolute value, 29,028 minus negative 1,312, right, which is this one. So the difference between the two, this would end up being 29,028, and we change that to an addition problem, adding the additive inverse of the second, right? And that would give us, oh, I gotta add this, 10, 3, 4, 3, and then 30,340, right? Now, and I found this value by subtracting 29,028 minus 1,312. Now, if I did it the other way, which is negative 1,312 minus 29,028, I should also get this distance, right? Because this doesn't matter if I'm, if I'm subtracting the top from the bottom and the bottom from the top, I should still get the same answer, but we don't. In fact, we end up getting, if you do negative 1,312 minus 29,028, we actually get negative, assuming my math is correct here, negative 30,340. So why is this different? And because of this, right, I much rather, when you subtract these two, whether you subtract negative 1312 minus 2928 or 29,028 minus negative 1312, you use this symbol. So whichever way you did this, 29,028 minus negative 1312, you will get the same distance, and the absolute value of 30,340, 30,340. If you did it the other way, negative absolute value, negative 1312 minus 29,028. If you subtract that, you would get negative 30,340, and if you take the absolute value of that, you get the same. And that's why I'm asking you to use subtract, find the difference within the absolute value, because distance cannot be negative. Okay, so the answer, assuming I added these two numbers correctly, is 30,340. That's the distance between both. The top of the mountain to the bottom, the Dead Sea. In Buffalo, New York, the temperature was negative 14 in the morning. The temperature dropped 7 degrees. What is the temperature now? So again, you have to start interpreting the question. So here's my beginning temperature. So I start my day at negative 14. It dropped. So there's two ways of writing that. So you can either do negative 14 minus 7, right, to tell you that it dropped, right? Dropped 7 degrees, right? Or you can say negative 14 plus 7. So it's whichever way you're comfortable. Okay, they both will lead to the same answer. Okay, So think about if it's negative 14 and it dropped, it means it's getting colder, right? Dropped by another 7 degrees. You're now at negative 21. So either way, you get negative 21. A submarine was situated 800 feet below sea level. So here's sea level, and here's your submarine, right? And it's at all the way at the bottom. So the submarine, we start the problem at negative 800. It ascends. What does ascend mean? To go up, right? So going up, addition, and going up at 250, it's positive. What is the new position? So think of a number line, right? To ascend means to go up, right? And then, or on the vertical number line, on the horizontal number line, we're going to the right, right? We're going closer. So to go up, he's going closer to the surface of the water, which is 0, right? So he's definitely moving towards the right of the number line. And then if you combine those two, you get 550, but negative. Okay, he's still on the water. The sub was here. Now maybe the sub is somewhere over there. 4, in the Sahara Desert, one day was 136 degrees. In the Gobi Desert, there was a temperature of negative 50. So we got 2 different temperatures. What is the difference between these 2 temperatures? So again, this one, we can do it in absolute value. So 136 minus negative 50. And we get 136, so we're going to get 136 plus 50. And that's going to give us 186. And if you take the absolute value of that, we get 186. Now let me draw a little thermometer over here. So think about this. Here is the Gobi Desert, all the way down here, negative 50 Fahrenheit, super cold. And the desert, the other desert, the Sahara Desert, let me just put this at 0, for example. The Sahara Desert happens to have 136 degrees Fahrenheit positive. So what is the difference between the temperatures would be this distance right here, right? So depending on how you ask the question, I think it will matter. How much warmer is it? Okay, in the Sahara Desert, it's 186 degrees warmer, or if you can say how much colder is it in the Gobi Desert, then it would be negative 186 degrees colder. Okay, so but in this case, it says what is the difference between the 2 temperatures. It doesn't specify. Therefore, I would just say 186. Your checking account is overdrawn by 50. Oh, God. I know you guys are 12 and you have, most of you don't have a checking account. Overdrawn means you've used more than you had. So if you used more than you had, right now your situation is you're at negative 50. Because whatever money you had, you spent all of that and you spent 50 more. So as far as the bank is concerned, you owe the bank $50, right? The bank paid the $50 up front for you, and now you're at negative 50. And then you write a check for $20. So you're already down 50, right? Overdrawn, you spent more than you had. And then you decide to write a check to pay somebody or someone or a store or whatever. And what does that mean? Are you saving money or are you spending money? Well, you're spending money. So to the debt that you already had, you're adding more debt. Right, so I was down at negative 50. That was my situation. And to that, I'm adding a little bit more debt. I'm moving further left on the number line. Just my answer is negative 70, right? Now, what's your balance right now? So how much money do you or don't you have right now? Well, right now, your situation just got worse. Instead of owing 50, you now owe 70. And that's reflected by the minus sign. Okay, so if you wanted to write this, negative 50, and you wrote a check, and you wrote it like this, as your initial expression was this, that would have been just fine too. Roller coaster. Ugh. Okay, so 6. You have a roller coaster. It begins at 90. So the roller coaster is above. It's here. So imagine the roller coaster goes up. So you're here on the top. And that says that compared to the ground, right, you're 90 degrees. So let's make this 0. right? This is a roller coaster, and then where's the roller coaster? It descends. It goes all the way down here to negative 105. So it's a deep descent here, right? You're 90 feet above ground, and then you go all the way down to negative 105. Find the height of the coaster after the first descent. So what's the height of this roller coaster? Well, the height of the roller coaster would be the distance between those two, right? So this one is one that you would use the absolute value. So it doesn't matter if you choose 90 minus negative 105 or negative 105 minus 90, because you're using this. It'll take you to the same answer. So let's do 90. You know what? Let's do negative 105 minus 90, because the height of this roller coaster is the difference between the distance, right? So negative 105 minus 90 is negative 195. The absolute value of negative 195 is 195. So this height right here, from the bottom of the roller coaster to the top of the roller coaster, is 195 feet. Stephen has overdrawn his checking account. Again, another banking account. Overdrawn his account. Again, he used more than he had. So let's represent that. It's negative 27. Then the bank charged him $15 for an overdraft fee. Oh, I apologize for this question. So anytime you spend more than you have and the bank has to cover for you because you didn't have money and they went ahead and took care of that money, that expense for you, they're not going to do it for free. Banks are not really that nice, right? You had no money and you spend more. And instead of, I guess, the merchant, right, the store saying, no, we can't sell it because you don't have money in the account, the bank stepped in and said, you know what, I'll cover for you. But because I'm going to cover for you, I'm going to charge you a little bit, right? There's a certain fee for it. So negative 27 is what the bank covered for you, right, initially. But then they said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to do that for free. I'm going to charge you $15. So now, to the negative 27 that you have to pay the bank eventually, they're going to add another $15. So you're going further left on your number line. But then you quickly wanted to make amends, and you went and took $100 from your wallet, took it to the bank, and you deposit and you put it into your account. So that's actually a good thing, right? You're putting money into your account, and represented by the positive integer. So how much money do you have right now? Well, let's do these two first. The negative 27 that you overdrew, negative 15 that the bank charged for covering you, that's negative 42, right? So you were all the way down to negative 42. And then you came quickly and you said, you know what, let me put some money in the bank. You put 100. So that 100 covers the negative 42 that you owe the bank, and you're left over with 58 bucks. Yeah, banks, not that nice. Hopefully nobody works in the bank. Price of a share of a stock started the day at 37. So stock market, you buy shares, you become owner, of a company. And the more you own, depending on the company, you can actually be the owner of the company if you own the majority of shares, but that can be quite expensive. Anyways, so you bought a share of a company and started the day at 37, so you could, $37. It went down by 3, so that $37, so it went down by 3, you can do minus 3. Up 1 or plus 1, down 7 or minus 7, and then up 4 or plus 4. So that's one way of writing it. If you want to write it this way, you can also write it. Notice that it's the same thing. So 37 plus negative 3 plus 1 plus negative 7 plus 4. So if you ended up writing it that way, it's okay too. It means the same thing. So 37 minus 3 is 34. Plus 1 is 35. 35 minus 7 is 28. 28 plus 4 is 32. So at the end of the day, your stock, your share, the one share you have, went from 37 to 32. Think about this as an elevator problem. You're on the 37th floor. You take the elevator down 3 floors. You go up 1 floor. You go down 7 floors. You go up 4 floors. Where are you now? Okay, so that's another way of looking at it. And guess what? The next question is an elevator problem. An elevator went up 15 floors, 9 floors. Find the net change. So it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't tell you where you are, but it tells you that you went up 15 floors. So let's write plus 15. You went down 9 floors, or minus 9. You went up 11 floors, or plus 11. And you went down 19 floors. So how much up and down did you travel? I mean, what is the net change here? So 15 minus 9 is 6. 6 plus 11, 17. 17 minus 19 is negative 2. So you actually down 2 floors. Okay. Wherever you began, you ended up being 2 floors down from where you began. And again, if you decide to write this as 15, and then if you want to use just this, what do you call addition, you can say 15 plus going down 9 floors means using a negative integer, negative 9, plus 11 floors, up 11 floors, we use a positive integer, and then plus again, and depending on the situation, in this case, down 19 floors, we use a negative integer. And you get the same answer. The average temperature South Pole is negative 45. The average temperature equator is 92. How much warmer is the average temperature? Okay, so this one actually says how much warmer, right? So let's use a thermometer over here. This is 0. The equator is 92 degrees Fahrenheit. So let me put it right here. And somewhere in the South Pole is negative 45. So how much warmer means that I'm going to have to take the 92 minus negative 45. Right, and that becomes, now right on top, 92 plus 45, which becomes 7 and 137. So it's 137 degrees warmer. Think about this from negative 45 to 40, from negative 45 to 0, it's 45, right, going up. And then from 0 to 92, it's 92. So we add those two, 92 and 45 is 137. So again, let me change that to an elevator problem. You are negative 45 floors below ground level. And I'm 92 floors above ground level. You know, how much taller is my floor than yours? I mean, how much higher is my current floor than yours? I'm 137 floors above you. Felix reported the coldest day on the record for his time was 5 times colder than yesterday's temperature. Well, yesterday's temperature was negative 4 degrees. 5 times, well, just times 5. And negative times a positive is a negative, and that gives me negative 20. We'll talk about again why a negative times a positive is a negative, but for now, that's okay. Pythagoras was born, the mathematician, was born 582 BC, which means before Christ, so it actually has represented as an integer that way. AD, don't forget, don't ask me what that means, or anno something, and that means that it's after 0. So if you have a timeline here of 0, negative 582 would be 582 years before Christ, BC. AD, I don't know what it stands for, but it would be after 0. So 1643 right here, right? So what's the question? How many years apart were they born? So how many years apart is this person over here and this person? So I'll do 163. There's 2 ways of doing it, several ways of doing it. How many years is it from 582 to 0? We have 582 years, right? How many years is it 0 to 1,643? 1,643 years. So I can add these to 582 plus 1643, and I'll get 5, 12, 12. There's 2,225 years between them. And I guess time can't be negative as well. So you could have done, for example, Negative 582 minus 1643, right? Absolute value, and then got negative 2,225, and take the absolute value of that, and there's 2,225 years between those two gentlemen. Okay, freezing water is negative 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Team added potassium found that the freezing point went down by 8. What is the freezing point of the water with the added potassium? So here's the temperature right now. Went down by 8. Okay, can be written as that. Or 32 plus, right? And then going down by 8 can be represented by a negative integer, negative 8. Either way, you get the same answer, which is 24. Okay. Local movie theater reported losses of 475 each day for 3 days. So how do we represent a loss? We use the integer negative 475. But that repeated for 3 days. What was the total? What was the loss for the 3 days? Well, we can write it like this. Day 1, I lost negative 475. Day 2, I lost another 475, and I'll put in parentheses. Day 3, I lost another negative 475, right? So how much did I lose? How much further down on the left side of 0 am I? I'm taking 475 steps to the left for 3 consecutive days. How much further left, right? Am I? Or in this case, you could have done negative 475 times 3. 1522 after 3 days. That's how much of a loss the movie theater has. City's budget is $8 million. Okay. So here's a city budget. Right now they have $8 million to spend. Positive $8 million. They spend $12 million. What is the city's deficit? So to spend $12 million, right? So you can go like that. Or you could have said, hey, here I am on $8 million. That's what I have. And to that, I'm going to add this much. But that much is a negative number, right? Because that's how much spending. So that much, how much debt I just incurred. So where am I right now? Well, if I had $8 million and I spent $12 million, I owe someone $4 million. Yikes. Okay, and then the last question looks like the same as the first question, so I'm not going to do it. So let me just double check. What is that? 29, 28. Yeah, what's the difference between... Oh yeah, the same question, so I'm not doing it. Okay, and that's that.